In this video we're going to talk about creatives, which is an element which you can find under the elements panel here under creatives, and we're going to briefly go over all of them. So the very first one is going to be fit text, and this, as the name suggests, is essentially going to create a text which is going to have a width set to fill. Now this text is just like any regular text element, so I can actually translate it to fixed, and as you can see I can easily adjust it, but the fill text is just a nice way to basically have a text element fill its parent container. Now let's move on with the very next one, which is arc, and this is useful for whenever you need to create these circular text elements. So as you can see over here, I can write whatever I want. You can click on enter, and as you can see now you have this text in an arc. You can also rotate it around, so this is going to be quite an useful element, which you can also leverage the ellipse so that you can you can also, instead of having it in a circle, you can actually go ahead and change the ellipse. So as I'm moving it up, you can see how now the text is taking this other shape, and also the direction, you can make it clockwise or counterclockwise. You can adjust the offset. So quite a bit of granular options for all of the basics really, including font, color and alignment. Now moving on to the very next element, which is going to be scribbles. This one is quite easy. It's just a bunch of different scribble options which you have, or elements. So you can simply just drag one of these scribbles directly here, and again you can essentially have scribbles on your canvas. So nothing too fancy about it, just a nice way to add some scribble elements inside of your website. Moving on, next one, countdown. Now countdown, as you might imagine, is essentially going to feature this live countdown. So if you're working on a landing page where you want to add maybe some scarcity, or there is a countdown to a release of a product or service, this is going to be the element which does it for you. Of course, you can change the color, you can change the data and the time. So you can actually set up when to which time zone this is synced, and you can also change the style, digits, 1 digit, 2 digit. You can have custom options right here. I won't really go into the details. For the very most part, this should be self-explanatory. You can show or hide hours, minutes, seconds, make it tabular or no, and that's that. And related to time elements, we must also consider we also have an actual time and date element right here. So this is actually showing you're not going to see the time right now, but at the time of recording this video, this is exactly the time that I'm in. So you could, this is literally like a live time and date. You can also have the date instead of the time, so possibly you could even have two elements showing the date and the time within the same landing page. And as with all of these other elements, you have pretty much granular options on how you want to style this and structure it. So that's that. Now let's move on to the very next one. I'm going fast as most of these elements are pretty straightforward. We're going to briefly talk about the wave pattern and the grid pattern. Now it's funny because we do have these two patterns, but essentially they're the same element. They are If we have a look at it, it's a frame with a fill applied to it, and the fill happens to be a preset image, which you can see over here. So this is going to be the actual grain pattern, but you also have all sorts of other patterns. So if I need to basically scale it down or up, we already experienced or learned in the previous videos that we can easily change all of these variables, as well as some other options related to this element. So this actually leaves us again with the noise pattern, which very similar to the other one, is simply a frame with this preset applied instead of the wave pattern. So these are going to be elements that of course you're not going to use all the time, but sometimes they're going to be useful. So it's important to keep in mind all the tools that you have at your disposal in order to create framer sites in a fast and efficient way.